What's up, friend? Last week we finally got the new add-ons and I honestly didn't expect much of a change, but to my pleasant surprise, this new addition is huge for Sorcs. I saw an increase in damage in pretty much every aspect of the game, both PvE and PvP. In today's video I'll show you which add-ons to pick for both Awakening and Succession for everything, from PvE to 1v1 and Node Wars. Keep in mind all these add-ons are done with just 1 week of testing, and while I'm pretty happy and confident with what I came up with, there's a chance I'll change them in the future, so check out my stream or join my Discord to keep up with the updates. Before we begin, remember to down smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. Add-ons are now split in 3 tiers, and the stats are now unified between all classes. The higher the tier, the more you get from the add-on. Let's start with Awakening. For PvE, we'll be running damage against monsters and minus DP on Bloody Calamari, our pre-Awakening tier 3 skill. The cooldown is pretty long and you won't be using this much, but if you can manage to squeeze it at the start of a pull, it will result in big damage. Then we have crit rate and cast speed on Dream of Doom. This is actually the skill I'm not 100% sure on, but it will give us a bit of an extra punch when we use it to pull mobs, and will make our buff rotation slightly faster. Next, we'll be running the same add-ons on Shadow Eruption, which is the second last skill we use in the buff rotation. I think it makes sense to run the same add-ons of DoD, since these two skills will be spaced pretty far away from each other. On the Awakening side, we'll have minus DP, down attack damage, back attack damage, and crit damage on Violation and Dead Hunt. This is our bread and butter DPS on Awakening, and most of these buffs only have 5-second duration, so we want them to keep refreshing them as much as possible. I'm super happy with this setup and it makes a lot of sense with the PvE combo in mind, which is usually pulling with Dream of Doom, Midnight Stinger for the crit buff, Scattering Shadow for the accuracy, Shadow Eruption into TBS for the add-ons buffs, Judgment as a DPS while waiting for the mobs to group up, and then El Clasico Dead Hunt Viospam. As last add-on I put minus DP and monster damage on Kartian Nightmare, which is our second tier 3 skill. Honestly not 100% sure about this one. The only place where this is really viable is Tura, because otherwise it's a pretty underwhelming skill. If you find yourself not using this much, you can just put something else like Judgment or TBS. Now, if you find yourself going out of mana or HP because you don't have sustain add-ons, then I'm happy to inform you that potions are on sale in pretty much every city of the game, and you can find spirit perfumes on the marketplace at a pretty cheap price. If you're a lazy blob who just wants to go brrrr, you can slap mana and HP on Violation and move the Violation add-ons to TBS, replacing Kartian Nightmare. If you're wondering why there is no minus evasion or accuracy add-on in the build, that's because according to Big and Shiny's PvE hit rate calculator, which I will be linking in chat, I have pretty much 100% hit rate on every grind spot that I go to, so I don't have to worry about it. If you have lower than, let's say, 90%, do consider to replace some of these with minus evasion and plus accuracy. Now, for 1v1, again, we have Bloody Calamari with minus evasion and DP. I often use these in trades and I think debuffing my opponent tankiness is the best use from this add-on. DoD with minus casting speed and movement speed, I've been testing this for a bit and I love how oppressive it can be to debuff from afar and gain advantage through that. Also makes CC reset a bit easier if you use it in a combo. Darkness Release is my go-to second KD, and I put minus DP and plus cast speed because that's exactly what I want at the start of my combos. We have TBS with PvP damage and crit rate. Again, this is both for trading, catching, and buffing in combos, and I think these two add-ons are great value in all of the situations. Then I was a bit unsure between Dead Hunt and Violation, because I often use both for either KD or DPS, but I think Dead Hunt wins simply because it doesn't cost stamina, meaning there might be a situation where we just can't use Violation and miss on these buffs. Since we use Dead Hunt either as a KD or at the start of our combo, we want some fat damage buff on it, like down and crit damage. Honestly, I kinda wish I could squeeze in all the special attack multipliers like air attack and back attack, but I think there's simply not enough slots for it. Then we have our tier 3 Kartian Nightmare again with the attack and movement slow. In 1v1, we can use Kartian as a way to out-trade and pressure our opponents, and I think debuffing them is a great value, that it makes this add-on very much worth, as the damage of the skill is insane on itself. You might notice there's no accuracy or evasion buffs here, and the specific reason for this is that if I'm fighting a full evasion degenerate, I will simply switch to accuracy offhand. That's it. Now for group fights and siege. The idea behind these add-ons is pretty simple. We want to debuff with our big AoEs and nuke with our big hit spells. I'm running minus evasion and DP on Calamari and Dream of Doom, crit rate and cast speed on Dark Flame, because it's a protected skill that we can just proc on structures or on people pretty safely, and TBS, Grim and Kartian will have all the damage buffs, so that we hit as hard as possible in the shortest possible time frame. A bit of a heads up before I start with Succession. I haven't really played Succession in a few months, so I'm not 100% convinced about some of these choices. I had Shulky help me with both the add-ons and the footage for this part, so big shout out to him. Of course, if any of these add-ons suck, it's 100% his fault. Anyway, the add-ons pretty much follow the same logic of the Awakening ones. For PvE, we want to debuff with our range skills while pulling, buff ourselves during the initial skill rotation, and then big damage with the Black Wave blasting. If you have mana issues and still can't find a general good vendor, you can put mana or HP add-on on Black Wave and move the damage multiplier somewhere else. For 1v1, I think the slow from DoD can still provide to be very useful for oppressiveness. Then, whenever you land the CC, we got the damage multipliers on the combo skills. And in group fights, I think it's not much different, but this time there's a bit more emphasis on protected skills since we don't want to leave too many openings. Also remember that we can proc the Shadow Eruption add-on with Ultimate Shadow Eruption. I hope this guide has been helpful. I got plenty of other guides for Sorc, in case you're new and you're learning the class. Thanks again to Shulky for the help, and in case you have any question or suggestion for the add-ons, feel free to type them here in the comments, on my Discord, or whenever I'm streaming. I'm gonna try to reply to everyone. Until then, kisses.